Bronzy wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Friday, and you guys know what that means. It means it's time for the weekend preview, and it's going to be a fun weekend in professional wrestling, specifically the season premiere of SmackDown tonight. After 5 long years away, it is returning to the USA Network, and we have a WWE Championship match inside of a steel cage to celebrate it. We're going to get into all of that and more on today's show. But as I always say, for a fun show, we need a fun panel. And we've also got a couple of fun comments as well. Shout out to you, Numero 1 Superfly, and shout out to you, Lord Virus of Nurgle, as well. But joining me today, let's kick things off with Megan. How are you today, Megan?
Hi, happy Friday, everyone. Happy SmackDown on USA Day. I'm doing good. It's been pretty good weather-wise here. I'm excited to get to the topics and see what they have planned for us for SmackDown tonight.
Absolutely. It is going to be a fun one. And also joining us, we have Jordy in the bank. How are you today, Jordy?
Yeah, mate, it's good. Like I said, it's Friday, so like I finished my real job today, so I can have a couple of days off and focus on wrestling. So that's always nice. I'm wearing the blue cap for SmackDown season premiere. Like I said, I actually understand this one. I do get this one. I never understand when it's Raws and they've not changed network or anything. But I get this, that it's changed network in the USA. It's going to be on the same channel for us in the UK, but it's changed in the USA. That's what's happening, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, basically,
Cool.
I'm going to be honest, Jordy, I didn't understand it either, right? But until last year when Clark explained it to me, this exact week last year. Basically, for some reason, all like the American shows, I think you were saying, line up to it's like this week when the season premieres usually are for like things which are year long or something like that. So this is the premiere week across tons of programming, Clark was saying last year. So
Right.
don't take my word for that, but that's what Clark said on air last year, so we'll take his word for it. But let's firstly talk about Mercedes Monet's word, because she's written some words in her Monet mag, specifically about AEW and specifically about All Out, because she had some quote-unquote mixed feelings about the event, and specifically about the violence in it. She said she wouldn't want her brother watching it, or any kid for that matter. And she's pointed out about, when she does signings, it's mostly kids there, it's mostly families there. And the fact that she wouldn't be comfortable with a lot of her fan base seeing that, well, it seems like a little bit of a concern to her. And it's brought up a wider argument in the wrestling community, specifically today, about whether or not AEW needs to dial it down a bit. Or should they target that hardcore audience? Because people are bringing up the point, and it's a good point, that it is a TV 14 product. It is not a TV PG one. So perhaps it's fine. Jordy, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I want to get your perspective. What do you think about what Mercedes Moné said?
I very much understand what she said, and it is very much kind of how I felt when I watched it. Wrestling Republic people would be like, "Oh, he never watches AEW." I did, actually. I watched these 2 matches because obviously there was a controversy about it within the wrestling community. So I thought, right, and now it's a topic. So happy days. I watched it, and look, I've seen crazy things in wrestling. It's not something I, as a 30-year-old man, and it's not something I'm necessarily worried about. But because I understand it's a product, and I can kind of look at it from that exact business perspective that you said, Ben, of maybe it's better to target that kind of more hardcore audience, because they're out there, but deathmatch shows are a thing. Up and down a lot of countries, very popular. They sell out a lot of places. So like you would be lying if you said there's no audience for it. But I completely understand what Mercedes says, because like the stuff with a bag over the head, that's just something that you don't even want to give the opportunity that a younger audience are going to see that and potentially go and replicate it. I know it's stupid, but unfortunately you always have to cater to the stupidest person in the room. Like it's not something that I think is necessarily a great thing to be shown, unless, and this is where I wonder, unless they look at going to an R-rated product and they make that clear before certain shows that it's like, don't let your kids watch this. So then maybe, but I very much understand what Mercedes Moné is saying on that. It was literally how I was feeling at the time. Like, look, I'm not even going to say I enjoyed it. It's kind of refreshing to see a completely different brand and a different product to what we see in WWE. But I had the exact same thoughts as I was watching it. Like, eesh, if there's kids watching this isn't good. And although it is TV 14, I wouldn't say that AEW throughout the history of the company have always sort of said been this far towards violent product, because obviously they'll be fully aware that they do appeal to kids as well, and will have leaned into that in the past when it's been beneficial. So it's just one of them, you can't have it both ways, I think. But that's obviously just my personal view on it.
Yeah, no, it is a difficult one, and like you said, it brings up a wider conversation about it. I mean, I'd be shocked if they went to R-rated. I mean, maybe they could do like one R-rated pay-per-view a year. That's something which I could see happening. But an R-rated product, I would be very surprised by. But we do have quite a few comments about this. It is creating quite the conversation in the comment section. Virus of Nurgle is saying, honestly, if she doesn't like it, why is she in the business? I mean, to be fair, right? Not all places in the business, do these death matches. But it is true, AEW do it. And so, like he's saying, this isn't a new thing. Maybe it went up a level at All Out across the entirety of the card, but they have done major angles at different points in their history which are as extreme as this. Numero one Superfly says AEW should tone it down a bit. It's okay to have some extreme moments, but there also needs to be a time where they need to be a bit more careful. Soul saying if it was a random matchup, fair enough, but this was used to develop the storyline. And I do agree with that, Soul. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought all of the spots made sense. I didn't think they were just doing dangerous stuff for the sake of it, other than maybe the syringe spot. I thought everything was well thought out. But it's just about the question about whether or not AEW are appealing to kids. Because, I mean, they clearly are, right? They're like doing collaborations with like the wrestling club in schools and stuff. Like, it's... I don't know if I think they're kind of going both ways right now, and I think they need to pick one or the other. If you're going to be a TV 14 product, you can't be, advertising it to people under 14. You can't be doing that. But Virus of Nurgle does agree with the Soul Sessions. But Megan, I want to get your perspective on this. What do you think around the entire situation?
Well, I'm a mom of a 13-year-old, and would I have wanted him to see Bryan Danielson get smothered out or a syringe being jammed into Swerve's mouth? No, not necessarily. But we see these things in movies. We see these things in TV shows. It's kind of hard to escape these type of um, situations because it's what sells. And but with that being said, I do understand what Mercedes is saying, and I do agree. It can be dialed down a little bit, or maybe a warning before the match. Um, but some people will argue that it really depends on the parent and watching over their child and making sure that their child is not watching something that they would not want them to watch. Um, Business wise, I think it's a little troubling for Tony to have one of the faces of the company to speak so candidly about the violence that she see within the company that she now works at, and wanting to tone it down, and how she wouldn't want her brother to watch it. I know Tony feels that he has the best roster and the smartest pro wrestlers, and they take all the precautions that they need in order to make sure no one gets seriously injured. But I don't know how he is going to go about having uh his one of his women's champion, voicing out her opinion, which kind of goes against the whole theme of AEW, which is it's for the sickos. I mean, that is their catchphrase. Um, so he might want to have a conversation with her behind the scenes and make sure that this isn't a recurring situation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more because you do fear it could become similar to the CM Punk situation in a way where it's like, it starts to become political backstage because you've got somebody who's going in their newsletter and basically complaining about the company. Now, she did
Yeah.
praise things about the event as well, but it is a brilliant point, no doubt about it. I mean, it is difficult. I do like what you said, though, Megan, about potentially doing warnings. And that's something which I remember it was one of their first events. It was when Cody Rhodes was in the company. And they advertised the event as being PTSD friendly. And the company which they did it with, the charity they did it with, they did a lot of, I can't say the word because we're on Twitch and that they have the word banned for some reason, but a
Right.
lot of survivors with mental health issues. And they did a choking angle on it with, a belt around the neck. And I was like, that's not PTSD friendly. So, I said at the time, I was like, if you're going to do that, you can't say you're PTSD friendly. You can't have it both ways. And maybe the only way to get around that would be a warning. That's what I said at the time. And now I think it's a
Right.
similar thing with the kids. You can't be showing it to you can't be advertising to the kids and then doing these awful things. You've got to have warnings on it at the very, very least, because
Where
I
I
do
think,
think they'll get themselves in muddy waters.
and this is where I think it's just the biggest risk as a lad who used to wrestle with his friends and used to replicate what we saw on the TV.
Hmm.
If somebody went to replicate that Bryan Danielson spot with a plastic
Yeah.
bag, it could end horrendously. Like, that's
Right.
not hitting somebody on the head with a chair, or like that's not slamming somebody on a bed pretending it's a table. Everybody has access to a plastic bag, and it's like that's why I was just like, "Eesh, I don't
Yeah.
like that." I remember like when me and my brother used to wrestle, my mum would tell me horror stories that she'd seen that somebody had landed a suplex wrong. And it's like, oh,
Oh,
right. Do you know what I mean? And it's
yeah.
like, and I just think the plastic bag is so easily accessible, and that's where I'm like, you should, like I take the comments about Grand Theft Auto and kids getting Grand Theft Auto, and it's like that isn't
Hmm.
great either. But the likelihood of them getting in a car and running someone down, it's
Yeah.
not as easy as going in a cupboard and getting a plastic bag while you're wrestling with your friends, thinking you're doing the right thing, or you're just playing and something goes horrendously wrong. And that's where I
Right.
just think you're in muddy waters there. You need to put a warning. And what I will say as well in terms of a warning, whether it's kayfabe or not, before the Swerve and Hangman match, they did say this is not. They basically gave a warning and said this is no longer an AEW sanctioned event. What you're about to see isn't
Yeah,
about to
that's
be
true for
pretty.
that one.
They did say it, but I mean, it is in kayfabe as well that it's an unsanctioned match. So it's just, I think it just needs to be clearer. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, that's a good point. And to be fair, for Swerve and Hangman, I do agree that was made clear for that one. So fair enough. And also a brilliant point you brought up about that, because I hadn't even thought about it, kids wrestling, because they can say all they want. Don't try this at home.
Hmm.
Everybody tries it at home. I mean, me and my mates had, when we were like 13, had a backyard wrestling company, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we used to, use fake blood and all of that, right? But we used to, obviously hear, oh, suplex on the concrete. And in reality, it's, just on the outside of the ring and they call it concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my mates did a suplex onto my other mate, onto actual concrete, thinking that that's that's
Yeah.
what they do it as. And that was done safely. Nobody was hurt. Well, other than maybe a bruise or whatever, but it was done safely onto the back, whatever. But it's the point of, you hear something on TV, you think, oh, that's real concrete. Okay, it must be safe to do.
I know someone who busted someone's nose by doing a pedigree onto concrete.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. It's like, how did you think that was not going to end like the way that it did unless you like tucked his head right in? Like, so
Right.
But again, I am one of the people who did these stupid things, so I can attest to it, and I can attest that at the time, my heroes, The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, they were all telling me not to do it. There was infomercials before shows telling me not to do it. It didn't stop me because I wanted to be like them. So it's like, I want to be one of the guys that in the future is saying, don't try this at home, even though I did. And they did as well. Like, that's the thing. So it's,
Everyone will try it at home. That's the reality. Like it's going to be tried at home. I mean, that is the one thing nowadays, to be fair. There is YouTube and stuff where, because everybody does know it's fake, people look at how you're meant to do it, right? Like there's tons of YouTube videos used to look at like how to do a suplex so it doesn't hurt. But even still, like you can still get hurt, accidents can happen, and I mean, perhaps if somebody's getting a concrete block out or a plastic bag or thumbtacks, whatever you want to say, perhaps it could be problematic. But I just think they need to be careful with how they're advertising stuff, and they need to put maybe disclaimers. I think that was a brilliant shout, Megan, from you. I really, really do think that probably is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a couple of comments here. We have Anthony Manzano saying, if it's truly an unsanctioned match, it should be taped live on a pay-per-view. So labeling it out unsanctioned is pointless. Sorry, so it should be... I don't really get your point then.
Maybe it means it shouldn't be taped on a live pay-per-view because it's unsanctioned.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, that's true too. That's always made me think about that. Soul saying floor seats for Survivor Series are nearly $2,000. Too much or justified? I mean, this is a bigger conversation, but I said it when Endeavor took over the company. It was my concern that for the longevity of the professional wrestling business, you need to make sure it's an event which families can afford to attend together, because that's the way which WWE's always grown. That's how it's been, at all times, it appeals to kids, adults alike, and that's the beauty of it, and it's how the industry, survives. So I don't like it. I don't, but it was always bound to happen. But it is, as Virus and Noogle says, it's insane. It truly, truly is, and I don't like it at all. But that is probably a rant for another day. Let's now move on to talk about Matthew Riddle. Because, in case you guys didn't see his comments, he said that he thinks that he absolutely could end up back in WWE. In fact, he predicts it. He reckons that it's going to happen. Why does he reckon it's going to happen? Well, because CM Punk did so much worse than him, and he still managed to get back in WWE. Now, I'm not going to lie, I think there is a bit of a difference between what Matt Riddle originally did in WWE and what CM Punk originally did in WWE, because CM Punk was a much, much bigger star. But, Jordy, I want to get your thoughts on this out of the gate. What's your opinion on this Matt Riddle situation?
Bro, no, would I rule it out? No, absolutely not. I don't think he's done enough for it to be like if Matt Riddle was to be a incredible draw, that WWE would turn away that opportunity. You know what I mean? Obviously, CM Punk is kind of the benchmark of how far you can go, and he's gone, like he said that himself, he's gone nowhere near that far, I guess. But what I'm back to, in a sense, Saul's point about floor seats being £2,000 or $2,000, whatever it is. You're not paying that to go and see Matt Riddle, I don't think. Like, I just don't know if right now he is. They don't need him. WWE don't need him. And if they carry on the trajectory that they're on, they're not going to, I don't think, personally. I could be wrong about that. That's what I mean. It really is in Riddle's hands, in a sense. If he goes out onto the indie scene and absolutely lights the world on fire and creates this following, maybe, yeah, but it very much is in his hands, and I wouldn't predict it right now. I definitely wouldn't predict it, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out realistically. He can go, don't get me wrong, he can go, and there's certainly worse people, but because of obviously how much of a liability he's been in the past, why would they bother right now when they've got the roster that they've got, and probably people knocking on the door to come in? So, like, yeah, it might be a ship has sailed moment for for Matt Riddle. Maybe a Rumble appearance and come down on it.
Oh.
But I don't know. I'm not that fussed about seeing it either personally, but I don't know how everyone else feels about that.
I really, really liked him when he was on the independent scene before. I loved watching him wrestle. I then loved him in NXT. And then it was just one personal thing after another personal thing. You don't really know what's true about it. And we still don't either, because there was tons of, that he had tons of allegations against him and nothing ended up coming from them at the time. But I don't think anything got like properly denied either. So it's very strange with him. You don't really know what what to think about it. And
It
like
was
you
one
said,
of
I
them
think
when he got released as well. Do you not think? Sorry to interrupt, but it was so weird when he got released, because I felt like there was almost a meme online. Everyone was like, "How are all these people getting released and Riddle's still there?" And then a week later, he got released. It was like WWE had seen it online and gone, "Oh yeah, good point. Actually, what's he still doing here? Let's get rid of him."
It was the exact same thing with Velveteen Dream as well, because a lot came out about him, whether or not it was true or not, another matter. But a lot of stuff came out about him, and then like literally, I don't want to say everybody forgot, because nobody did forget, but it was like 6 months later they released him, and like everyone was like, "How is he still with the company? Like, why haven't they either said that he's innocent?" or whatever. It was so strange. And it's the same with Riddle. Like, they just never clarified anything. And then once everything's, the allegations, everything are in the past almost, they then fire them. It's like they just wait until it's far enough that they can't get like sued for wrongful termination or something. And then they do it. Maybe that actually is what it is. Anthony Manzano has clarified his previous comment, saying, "If you want the match to truly be unsanctioned, don't tape it live on television on a pay-per-view. So labeling it as a lights-out sanctioned match seems pointless." Okay, I get that. I do. But I think there's so many things in wrestling which is like, I do agree with you where it's like, that makes no sense if you think about it. But that's just so much in wrestling that's the exact same as that. Umaga Wrestler says he regularly tries RKOs at home. Please
safely,
don't do
I
that.
hope. Safely.
I don't know if there's a safe way to do it. The front bumps are just terrifying. But Numero One Superfly says he's not entirely sure. The only way Riddle could come back is to make such comments. Is to not make such comments like he's stated over the years and work on his behavior. I mean, that's true. He completely called out Roman Reigns, Brock, and Goldberg, and all of them were like, "No," and were like, "What are you doing?" But
I don't want him to change. That's the thing as well. If that's who he is, be him, be that guy. But WWE just isn't the company for you. Bro.
Yeah,
like that is the thing. Like there's other companies out there, the indie scenes out there. But if you're gonna be, if that is you authentically, then just like WWE, unfortunately, isn't the place for you.
But do you know what company is for everybody, Jordy?
What? Oh, go on, Ben. You say it.
Next Level. And in case you guys don't know why, let me talk to you. Because Next Level have taken all our social media links and they put them all in one place. And that one place is nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, linked all in one place. They also have a wrestling section in their app, and if you click that link right now, you could win a Next Level Championship belt as well. So make sure to click it. It's all completely free. And yeah, it's a fun app. You can delete it if you don't like it. But that link has all our other links to all the social media platforms. You got nothing to lose. But now let's move on, because we have got to talk about another piece of news, another interview, because this week, Drew McIntyre, he logged onto Reddit. He did a cheeky Ask Me Anything. He essentially stole a Mailbag Monday from us. But somebody asked him a question which we've been asked in the past, actually, about who he'd have in the modern day Evolution. And he said that he'd like to have Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Braun Breaker, and Obafemi. And that faction would be stacked. But Megan, my question for you is, do you think, one, that could happen, or two, if not, do you think just any version of Evolution 2.0 could indeed happen?
I think it could happen. I think anything is possible. Kind of like the point that Jordy made. Um, Anything is possible. And I do like Drew's picks. There's something about Oba and Braun, these NXT. Well, one is an NXT graduate, one is still there, running rapid on NXT right now. Um, I don't know. Shawn Michaels is like really pushing out uh monsters out of NXT, and I could definitely see them being a modern day Batista and Randy, or Batista and Triple H. Now, I thought it was kind of funny that he compared Sheamus to Rick because he's old, and I took offense to that because, you know, Sheamus is only about a year or two older than me. So if he's old, I must be up there too. But I think I would like to see it. I would like to see it. I think Drew has a I like his creative flow, and I like the way he thinks, and I like the way he approaches the his storylines, whether it's his most recent feud with CM Punk, or if it was with Seth Rollins or Sheamus and Gunther. Like Drew has a way of really drawing emotion from the fans, whether you're cheering for him or you're booing for him. So, if there is a way that he can possibly make this happen, or if by chance there is another Evolution 2.0 that could come out in the near future, um, yeah, I would like to see it. I would like to definitely see it. I don't feel like the bloodline really has that same aura that Evolution had. It was definitely before its time, and it brought a different feel to an all male fraction. Um, so I wouldn't even compare too many of the fractions today to Evolution. Um, but as I said, if there's a way that they can make that happen, if Drew can get them all together and do it, I think they'll definitely take over WWE.
Absolutely. No, it would be fun if it does happen, but the question is, will it happen? But like
Will
you
it
and
happen?
Jordy both said on this show, anything is possible. And in wrestling, that's certainly the case after what we've seen the last few years. We do have quite a few comments here actually about it. We have Chris Leclerc saying Roman Reigns, Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Obafemi. I love those shouts. I don't know if you'll see Roman Reigns, in a faction like that, but I mean, it'd be stacked, that's for sure. I think Drew McIntyre probably is a bit more likely though. Numero One says that group would sound awesome. Although, in my opinion, would it be possible to add Gunther to the group and to have them all hold gold and be a truly dominant faction? I mean, perhaps. So, I mean, that would just be insanely stacked if they had Gunther in there too. And I don't know if I don't know, maybe he'd get along with some of them in there because they all, I guess, are fighters rather than entertainers. So maybe, but I couldn't see that happening, but that would be good. Dr. Dollars is agreeing, but meanwhile, over on Instagram, there is a comment which I'm going to have to clarify real quickly because Sin underscore Carter 61 is saying about the Matt Riddle question. Are you sure? Are you sure? You guys are forgetting that the USA on Netflix can hire him, not just WWE anymore. Quick clarification on that. USA and Netflix have zero in direct input or like they've got no power to hire anybody for WWE. That's not the way it works. They can ask them technically, but they have no power to actually hire them or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But now let's talk about something else we're going to have to wait and see happen. Because, like I said at the start of the show, tonight is the season premiere of SmackDown. It returns to the USA Network after 5 years on Fox. And I am very excited for it. And it has been announced that opening the show tonight we have got Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Solo Sikoa inside of a steel cage. I am so excited for that. We've also got Carmelo Hayes and Andrade facing off once again. Presumably, the winner is going to get LA Knight based on the segment last week, but that hasn't been officially announced by WWE. We've also got a tag team contest as Kevin Owens and a mystery partner will be taking on A-Town Down Under. Now, I have a theory as to why Solo Sikoa and Cody is opening the show. There are a lot of wild theories out there. I personally don't believe them. I reckon the reason that match is on first tonight is because the main event is going to be Kevin Owens and his mystery partner against A-Town Down Under. And just like everybody else, I'm predicting that mystery partner is indeed going to be Randy Orton. That moment in itself is not big enough to be the main event of this show over the WWE Championship match. But what is bigger than that is a Randy Orton heel turn. I think tonight Randy Orton is turning on Kevin Owens in the main event, and I reckon that is why it is the main event. But Megan, I'll go to you first. Sorry, that's what I think that will be the main event. They've not announced the main event yet. They've just announced Cody versus Solo will be opening the show. But Megan, firstly, what's your opinion on this card? And secondly, why do you think Cody versus Solo is opening the show instead of closing it?
You know, one thing I've learned is that if you have such a huge match, such as a steel cage match for the undisputed title, opening a show, then there has to be a way bigger closing that they have set up. Um, because naturally that will be the main event. That would be the finale, what you will watch the show to see. Um, so if I have learned Triple H's bookings, there's definitely something that is going to blow us all away by the end of the show. Um, so this is actually the first I'm hearing of that. Um, but overall, I think the matches so far, it's okay. I'm trying to figure out where they're going at with Andrade and Carmelo. It's becoming repetitive at this point. Like, I'm not sure where this feud is going. It's just a constant one up us between them two. Who's going to win this match over the other? Um, so I mean, of course, I'm gonna watch it. They both talented wrestlers, but it is kind of repetitive to me. And as in for Kevin's match, I think it would be. I think it would be obvious that it would be Randy. Um, but seeing as how this is a USA premiere, maybe it won't be Randy. Maybe it will be somebody returning. I mean, that's just the way I think anyway. It's kind of like what I always look forward to. So I kind of set myself up for failure anyway. But 9 out of 10, you're right. It will be Randy. But I guess I'm kind of hoping that it is somebody else. But that would be a very interesting twist to that match. It's just a turn with Randy against Kevin. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to something popping off by the end of the show. If we're going to have Cody and Solo open the show, something way bigger is going to happen by the end of the show.
Absolutely. And the other thing about it as well is a lot of people, to be honest with you, including myself, predict that Roman Reigns will show up at the end of the Solo match. And then the fact that Roman Reigns then, if that's not the main event, him returning once again, I mean, they must have something big. Is a Randy Orton heel turn big enough? It's got to be a crazy angle, but if it is a crazy angle, I think potentially so. The other theory I actually had was what numero one Superfly is saying in the comments here, that perhaps Charlotte Flair could return again and challenge for the championship. I could see that happening, but I think for that to happen, they'll have to do a segment early in the show tonight, setting up Nia Jax versus Bayley for the main event.
Mhm.
And I think that's maybe, especially considering there won't be an an opening segment because it is a match. I think that might be difficult to do in 2 hours. It's possible. Maybe that's what it will be. That is another great shout. But Crystal
Yeah.
Leclerc says Bayley and Roman Reigns will be on SmackDown tonight. I mean, definitely Bayley for sure. Jordy, what about you? What's your theory? Why do you think they're doing what they're doing tonight?
Well, I see. This is something that I've mentioned it into our group chat earlier. I didn't think Roman Reigns had been announced for tonight, right? But I'm also in the WWE broadcast channel on Instagram, and they shared this graphic in there. And obviously, the tribal chief is front and
Oh.
center. Yeah, so the tribal chief is front and center on it. So I'm thinking that he's probably going to show up at some point. Which I think, why have they done that? If that's, I'm exactly the same as you, Ben. It's like they've almost literally, well, with that graphic, it's like they're spoon feeding it to us and saying Roman's going to be there. And to be honest, I spoke about this on Monday actually about Bret Hart. And I said, I don't know why they announced it, because like it just seems silly to me. Like, what's wrong with a surprise appearance anymore? But people are thinking The Rock. I don't know if it's too soon, but one thing I will say is The Rock, I'll never put it past The Rock to just show up and cut a promo. I'll never put it past him to do that. I've seen him do it countless times before, even on SmackDown premieres before. So, and probably times in the past, they've had a lot less. He's not been as involved in an ongoing storyline as he currently is. So I wouldn't put it past him. But I'm certainly excited for it. Charlotte Flair's a great shout, by the way. Like, where's she at? I want to see her back. She could be an Evolution, by the way. That would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Just get Charlotte in instead of Rick. No, but yeah, I'm hoping to see not just Roman. I'm hoping to see Jimmy. I want to see Paul. I want to see, is that big enough? Is Roman and Paul hugging big enough to end the show on? Might be.
But how could they do that if the opening match is the steel cage?
I don't know. It's just a backstage segment, and they always advertise stuff halfway through the show and say they might just say Roman Reigns will address the WWE universe tonight, or I don't know.
Oh gosh.
Sometimes like it will be watching Raw, and the main event for Raw gets announced like half an hour into Raw. So I don't know. But yeah, again, Randy heel turn. I just don't know if it's big enough than Roman coming back again. But one thing I will say, if they do bring Roman back tonight, is I'm glad they're doing it now and not at Bad Blood, because that would have irritated me a little bit. Why did you do it at SummerSlam then? Why are we doing it again? But yeah, I hope Roman turns up with the cavalry.
What happens, right, if what you just said with Roman Reigns, he turns up after the first match, takes out Solo Sikoa, there's a big brawl, they brawl backstage, it's Roman Reigns versus all of them. Jimmy Uso then returns while they're brawling backstage, and then it's just, 2 versus 4, whatever it is. And then they get separated. Then, like, the next segment after, they found each other again and they're brawling again. And at this point, Nick Aldis gets a phone call and he tells them, make sure everybody's separated. We've got somebody arriving later on tonight who's going to sort this out. The Rock arrives in the main event and announces a match between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Maybe that's his involvement, because then he won't be physical and he can cut a promo, because he's still recording movies. He can't get physical. But he could, if he's free in his schedule on this Friday night, he could technically pick up a mic and talk. There's nothing stopping him doing that.
I would go on.
Oh, I was thinking, like, what if, even with the tag team match, maybe the surprise will be that maybe it won't be Randy. What if it's John? What if John Cena decides to You
Grease up
know,
the old hinges for a bit before his farewell tour.
That's a good
yeah.
shout.
Mhm.
That's not a bad shout at all.
I
Yeah,
just don't
Kevin's
feel like
called
it
Uh,
him
would be
John
like,
before as well.
yeah, I don't know if it would be like one surprise and then it just carries for the show. I think they're going to hit us like multiple times. Like you get hit by one, and then as you're recovering, then you get hit with another. So it might be multiple people returning tonight,
mm,
just
I
Fantasy
hope
welcoming
so.
booking. If
the
I was
show.
fantasy booking, I'd love The Rock to actually cost cost Cody the title. I'd like Solo to win. And then, because of just bear with me, because people have got in their mind this whole like Cody's gonna be on Roman's team for War Games. Why? I
Yeah,
don't understand. But if The Rock helped Solo win the title, then Cody and Roman would be aligned. They would have a goal
that's
together to
true.
be like, you know what, we need to take these down, and after that, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get my belt back. So, but I just
It's
thought
true.
again,
I
with
mean,
it being first, like, where do you go from there? I don't
yeah, I'm
like.
I'm definitely not one of the ones that want Cody to continue lingering in the bloodline story. Like I want him to be
hmm.
cut from it,
I
move
want him with
on.
Randy. I want him
Yeah,
to have him and
um,
Randy could feed families that feud, and I want it to
yeah,
happen soon.
it needs to definitely. So I'm hoping
Ah,
that it's not a setup for Cody to end up Team Roman. I just feel like if that's the case, Cody, the champion, maybe, he'll definitely be playing second fiddle to Roman.
oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know if he'll.
exactly. He
I don't
does.
know if he'll
It's
want
not a
to do
great
that.
look. It's not a
Yeah.
great look
No,
for your champion.
100%. 100% I agree with that. What? We've hyped all this up, right? We predicted John Cena, Roman Reigns, The Rock, Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, Charlotte Flair, Randy on heel turn, all of these things. And what's the only surprise? Be Randy Orton being the surprise tag team partner, and that's it. And all of us are like, well, that's a great way to kick off SmackDown. But we have a couple of comments here before I wrap up. We have Numero One saying, why would The Rock want to return and just make an announcement for a match he's not in? Well, he can't actually wrestle until
Mm.
after January. So that's the situation they're in. He's filming movies until then. No way is a Hollywood production going to let somebody wrestle while they're filming. It's too much of, if he gets hurt, that entire production's just ruined.
He turned up on the Raw after Mania and made an
Yeah.
announcement, and then just went away. So like, it's
Yeah,
not something
exactly.
he's averse to doing.
But also, it's
whether
his
it's good
family
booking
too.
or not, yeah, whether it's good booking or not, I
Yeah.
completely agree. It would be using The Rock's name to make a big pop on the
Yeah.
first episode of SmackDown.
Right.
That's all it would be.
100%. I mean, as well, it is. It's his family. Like he is
Yes.
what's the term that he called it? The high chief. He is like it's his family, so it would make sense. But if he announced Austin Theory versus Grayson Waller or something like that, yeah, it'd be no sense.
That's
but
why I
it is
don't
his
want
family.
Cody involved in any War Games match really with the Bloodline, because it's like, look, like the Anawati family, they're hardly shorter lads. Like they've got plenty. If you wanna have a
Yeah.
big War Game Bloodline thing, there's
Call
loads of
them
them.
up.
Yeah, just literally pick up the phone. There's probably enough within the company right now, especially if you count Sammy as the honorary use. Then you've got enough.
Right.
So just have that. Don't leave Cody out of it.
Yeah.
That's
But
what I hope,
anyway, we'll have to wait and find out. But thank you to everybody for watching this show today. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Megan and thank you to Jordy for joining me here today. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, to talk a little bit of SmackDown. See you guys then. Peace.